Hi everyone, it's Denise Millet coming to you from my home office, and I am here to help you be findable. Before we get started, I would like to share a quote with you from my favorite poet author, Maya Angelou. She says, "Words mean more than what is set down on paper. It takes the human voice to infuse them with deeper meaning." I love Maya Angelou. She always makes me reflect, and I want us to understand how important our voices are in conveying who we are to our audience, our customers, our clients online. It's just as good as them seeing a video because they hear our tone, they hear the richness of our voice, and they understand who we are a little bit better. So let's get started. Today we're talking about podcasts and why do they matter to us? And I want to tell you that podcasts are becoming a very, very important way to share your message with your audience and to tell them a lot more about you, what you think is important, how you do business, and they're growing and growing in popularity. So much so that a recent iHeart Media State of Podcasting report came out this week, and one of the interesting statistics they shared was that there are now more weekly podcast listeners in the U.S., 89 million, versus Netflix subscribers at 67 million. And I think that is just wow, right? Like, who would have thought they'd top out Netflix? Because Netflix is what we all do, right? But podcasts are growing and growing year over year, and people are integrating them into their lives, whether they're at home or at work, and they are sticking to them and listening to them, and they're a great audience. So I think we need to pay attention to this data. And one of the other data points they gave us is that they asked people, has your podcast listening taken the place of the time you used to spend with any of the following: YouTube, streaming music, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook? 50% of respondents said yes to YouTube. 46% said yes to streaming music. 38% TikTok, 33% Instagram, and 33% Facebook. That is a lot of decrease on those platforms to then spend time on podcasts. And so if you need any more evidence, I'm not sure what else I can tell you, but the trend is going up, and podcasts are going to be a wonderful way for you to support your business with your content. And I want you to understand how people find podcasts online. 30% of new podcast listeners search the internet to find new shows. 30%. That's huge, considering all the platforms out there. And I have to say, I think it's because the podcast platforms do not do a good job at helping people search for new episodes. It's very difficult. I've tried a lot of them myself. Even when you have the exact title, it doesn't show up. It's very frustrating. And so I think that's taught people to use Google instead, and to go to Google to look for something, just like we do for everything else. So you want to make sure that your episodes are included on search engines, and you want to make those podcast episodes findable. So how do we do that, right? That's the big question. How do we make our podcast episodes findable? Well, we include them on our website. We create a page for each episode, and we make sure the keywords, the phrases, the questions, the sentences we choose that our customers are going to put into search engines are what we use to title and describe our podcast episode. Did you get that? Connect what people are searching for with what you put on that page for that episode, so that the search engines have that in their catalog when someone searches for it. That's as easy as it is. Now, here's some suggestions for your episodes. Is you could create episodes that answer a specific question that your audience may have. How to do something. What is the reason we do this? Where did this come from? Or what's the origin? Whatever is appropriate for your community, for your audience, answer a specific question, because people use voice search. They'll use a voice assistant in their home or in their car to actually ask a full question. So if you answer a full question, you could be the solution to that when they search for it in Google search. The other thing that you can do is speak to their needs. Think about what questions they have. What is currently going on in their business, in their lives? What do they need? Do they need to make more money? Do they need to have more time to have a time-life balance? Are they feeling stressed? Is there some way that what you do speaks to what they need? And can you form an episode around that issue to speak to them, basically? And then the other thing is you can demonstrate your understanding of their business and how their business works by speaking about a topic that's relevant. So let's take an example. Let's say you're an accountant and you do taxes. We just finished our taxes in April. It's now May. You might start talking about how to plan for 2023's taxes by giving people tips on how to file their information to make it easier next year. So you're thinking about what's going to make that business owner have a lighter lift next year versus what they had this year. And they're going to remember what they had this year because it's not been that long ago. And you're speaking to something that's relevant. And you're demonstrating that you get what's happening in their world. And you're speaking to them about what they need, not what you have and what you do. So that's what I would say is connect your episodes on your website to your audience needs so they are indexed or cataloged by Google search. They're in the search, and then your podcast episodes are available when people go looking for conversation or audio around something that they want to listen to. The other thing to consider is a podcast. If you're on the fence about whether to have one or not, a podcast is listened more likely to, like one person listening to a podcast is like sharing it with, podcast listeners tune into an average 8 different shows per week. So if you're on one podcast and you're speaking about something, or you're a guest on someone else's podcast, or you're connected to a topic that someone else has and you come up in search as well, it's not like they're only listening to one. They're always looking for new things that could be interesting because listeners are very intent on listening and they like to find new content. They don't want to just get stuck in the rut of one thing. Like radio listeners often don't change stations if they find one that they love, but podcast listeners are always looking for new stuff. The other thing to consider is that podcasts are wonderful ways to give more listening body language, I'll call it, your tone, your inflection. If you interview someone, how you deal with a question, how you speak to other people, it just tells so much about you. So let me sum up. Here are some of the things you can do to give clues to search engines about your podcast episodes on your website. Put a question or an issue you're speaking to your audience about directly in the title. Include keywords, which are phrases, sentences, questions in the show notes or the text on the page. Also, the headlines can have those words in them or similar synonyms, whatever. Use tags on the page to describe the category of what the podcast is talking about. So it's in marketing, or is it about taxes, or is it about accounting, or, give those clues so it helps categorize your information. Include a transcript or a snippet of a transcript when possible on the website page, because this gives Google more information to understand what your episode's about and make sure they categorize you as well as they can. So thank you so much. I want you to be findable, because if they can't find you, they can't do business with you. Remember that. I also have an offer for you today. I would love you to come and visit me at my Entrepreneurs Game Night next Wednesday, May 15th. It's a virtual event. We're going to have a scavenger hunt for keywords and uncover that golden treasure online. So visit denisemillet.com/game night and grab your seat today. It's free, complimentary. You'll get a free gift for attending, maybe some prizes. So I look forward to seeing you there. And thank you. I'm so glad you could be here for this episode of Marketing Matters for Findability. I know how precious your time is, and I hope you came away with some nuggets you can apply to your business. Thanks so much.